Hello, everyone. I'm not sure. Hopefully, Daniel and Celeste might be able to turn their video on. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's session. We'll get started in a minute. Recommend you mute yourself and mute your video. This session will be recorded. Be great if people can just let us know where you're from in the comments. Be also good if some people let us know if you are using Seamlss already. That would be amazing. Don't be shy to put it in the comments. Let us know. If you've got any questions, feedback, use the comment help section. It's in the bottom right hand corner of Seamlss, of Google Meet. And yeah, we'll just give it 1 minute and then everyone can join in and we can hopefully get started with today's session to help people complete their requirements and yeah, use Seamlss. Awesome. That's enough from me. So yeah, mute yourself, turn your video off if you like. Daniel is the moderator today. So I'll get started in recording. If someone can start the recording. Celeste or Daniel.
Yeah, we're recording.
We are recording. Awesome. We are recording. So welcome to today's session. I'm Clayton Wood, co-founder of Seamlss and Business Advisors, accounting firm, award-winning accounting firm. We obviously built Seamlss to enable firms to better onboard and engage with their clients. With us, I also have Celeste, who is the practice manager from Business Edge Advisors. She has a wealth of knowledge, and our other co-founder, Daniel, is going to be a moderator in the background. Just say hello if you like. Celeste, mute. Celeste, is yours working?
Oh, of course it's working. I was just keeping quiet. Hi, everyone.
So yeah, don't be shy for some interaction. Love you to join in the chat in the background. So hot topic today is something that everyone's talking about. So it's obviously been around for 9 months, but it's getting to the stickier end of the conversation because although firms had to implement it, the TASA changes are now going to start affecting people. Obviously, how Seamlss can help with that, and a bit of a quick walk through Seamlss in that situation. So with the TASA changes, obviously there's been a lot. It's a big impact on firms. Stressed everyone out a lot last year. It got pushed back to the end of this year for smaller firms. Larger firms with over 100 having to start complying in January this year, but everyone else is starting in July. So obviously there's a lot of processes, a lot of things to change if you're not already doing it in your firm. You know, how is it going to impact on your firm? Engagement letters are one of the key ways to protect the firm, improve the efficiency, and yeah, how we can overcome those challenges. Many are struggling because of the manual process. A lot of firms don't have a way to re-engage their clients from years ago. They're just relying on one engagement letter from 10 years ago and thinking that that's still okay. Obviously, scope creep is always a problem, and there's a lot of more compliance standards around the TPB and ATO. Yeah, so, you know, why does this matter? Well, we all know you want to avoid compliance penalties and disputes, reduce scope creep and revenue. So I think stop wasting time on manual engagement processes. Like, a lot of firms have got different processes and things out there, but I think the key is like, yes, there could be compliance issues and penalties and stuff around scope creep and things like that. But I think you need to flip the script a little. I'll get Daniel to share one of the links from this week's blog post. I think it's really important for firms to think about, yes, you want to protect yourself if you go wrong, but I feel like you want to be as transparent and close relationships with the client as possible. So when you're building that relationship, Celeste, you really want them to be on the same page from the get-go. You don't want to hide all those terms and conditions, do you?
No, definitely not. I think, yeah, having that open communication, transparent communication is super important to continue to build that trust with the clients and building that relationship.
So, you know, we can stick with the old way, like I said, about drafting up an engagement letter, getting it signed in person, that sort of stuff. But I mean, surely most people are using a digital signature platform in some way. People could be missing or delaying the signatures. I know that in the past we've used a different proposal tool, and you just forget to put one of the entities down. So technically, you haven't really engaged them. The whole reason why Seamlss exists is to collect all that data at the start, and everything is listed on an engagement letter. That was done by design and on purpose to keep us, if you're doing it the old way and you're just doing a one-off engagement letter and you're relying on that from 10 years ago, technically maybe you'll be compliant, but then I think going forward with all the TASA changes, I'd be a bit more worried. Obviously, you can do it with Seamlss. You can edit templates. You can send it for e-signing. You can adjust the TASA requirements and your engagement letter requirements ongoing all the time. And and you can obviously digitally get it signed, store it, and make it a part of your process. So along with the quality systems that you need to implement with the TASA changes, I think it's about talking about those processes to your team and having that good process with the client through that whole onboarding engagement process. How have you found that, Celeste, for Business Edge Advisors?
So as a practice manager, it all comes out in the data, I think. It comes to the clients, the number of clients you have, where you are in your lodgement status, which Business Edge is doing really well this season, which is really great. And obviously it's not just because of Seamlss, there's always other factors, but I definitely think it's definitely a contributing factor to engaging early, collecting data efficiently, and being transparent in what services we need to do from the get-go.
Excellent. And Seamlss is one of the key engagement platforms that we utilize in Business Edge to collect the data up front, but also to sign that engagement letter. Super handy when you have a client in a dispute and you're like, well, we told you about these prices and things up front at the start. Here's where you signed, here's where you agreed. Just reducing that problem. Now, in saying that, I feel like today is also just about thinking about more than just terms and conditions. So yes, you can use your terms and conditions. You can get a template from your membership body, copy, paste it in there like lots of other people do. But I think it's important to talk about what's included and what's not included. You could have a terms of engagement that trying to capture everything within like a catch-all example. Pricing, you can obviously put your prices and your fees within that template to make sure that it's very clear. And it doesn't have to be, say, I'm going to charge you $1,000 today. It could just mean that it starts from this price. So when the client asks you and you talk about quotes and you talk about pricing, maybe your post billing, depending on how your firm operates, just being clear and transparent with the client, obviously putting the client responsibilities and mutual accountability parts in there, super important, and having those clear terms that you can rely on. One of the quick questions people ask is, do you have to put pricing in the engagement letter? Nowhere in the TASA things does it say, oh, you must include a price. But it does say, to be clear, best practices is clearly to talk about your fees to avoid any disputes and scope creep. And I think that's the bit I want to emphasize on today. Yeah, you can tick all the boxes for TASA, but I think it's about creating a better firm, a better outcome, and a better relationship with your client from the get-go. So being clear about the pricing up front just starts that relationship off better, so that you don't come back and go, oh, your bill turned out to be 10 times bigger than you were thinking. With Seamlss, we have the ability to triage and help you scope that position at the start. So keeping them engaged along the way really allows you to do that. And it'll lead to a better relationship and better outcome with the client. Do we have any questions so far? Nope, we're all good, cool. So how can you use Seamlss? I think the key is, so hopefully, put in the comments if you're not sure on any of the TASA things that you want me to touch on, and I might be able to touch on that for you. But I think the key is about utilizing Seamlss to choose your template, edit it on the fly if you want to edit it, You don't need to print it and email it back and forth, things like that. You can do it electronically through Seamlss via the re-engagement and make that a part of your process. Make it a part of that quality system in your firm to re-engage your client every time you have a touch point, because you can have different engagement letters and different touch points with clients. So I'll go through the live walkthrough. I'm going to mostly focus on the engagement process today. I will touch on a couple of other areas, but if you have questions, I will definitely come back to that at the end. And yes, this is recorded, so obviously we will send it out later. The whole point of Seamlss is to work through from a lead, qualifying the lead, then you're going to onboard them, verify them, and maintain that continuous relationship. So meeting with them, engaging them, collecting data, and then engaging them with the re-engage function. So the whole point is to keep it as a circular motion as possible, where every year you're doing this over and over again, every quarter, every month, every time you have an interaction that might change that relationship and that scoping with Seamlss. So I'm just going to change screens. Hopefully you all can see it. Winning. This is the dashboard of Seamlss. So we've got the leads, we've got the upcoming re-engagements, we've got follow-ups, and we've got the action items here. Now, one of the key things you might notice is the leads function. So leads is where you can triage and qualify the clients. I'm just going to suggest that you have a look at this. I can come back to the end if people want to know more. But obviously, we've got, you can add them, you've got the categories, and you've got the lead links. Basically, the whole idea of this is so you can scope out the engagement, and that when you're talking to the client, when you're sending out the engagement letter, you've got the right items within the engagement. So that's if you're utilizing the leads part of the platform. If I'm adding a client, put their details in, get my email address here. I'm going to change my name. Mike Smith today. Should I have touched on the engagement letters first? Templates, shouldn't I, Daniel? Potentially. For today's session, I shall. Something different. So today I'm going to go through, start on the templates. So in Seamlss, you can have one or many templates. I'd recommend having an overall catch-all template where you're discussing your fees, where they come from, your terms of engagement, lodgement deadlines, responsibilities, and things like that. Now, I do have a TASA example here. So what sort of things do you need to have in your engagement letter? So it's got to have safe harbor protections. Ensure that your client knows about giving you the data, making sure it's everything you're getting is included is going to be material in the outcomes for the engagement. Making sure that you're noting the code of professional conduct and compliance, and you're aligning with those new requirements. You've got obligations as a tax agent to report breaches of the law. This has been discussed at length in all the different groups and chats. I'm not going to go into details of that, but you're aware that you've got an obligation. I would have debt recovery and late payment clauses. One of the biggest things is making sure that you get paid. So I know a lot of firms, sometimes if you charge later, the client doesn't pay, and then you've got to go send it to a debt collector. Make sure you include the debt recovery clause, so that if you send it to a debt collector and the debt collector charges 20%, the client pays the 20%. So if you send them a $1,000 bill to debt collector takes $200, the actual client has to pay $1,200. So you don't lose that. Lodgement and deadline disclaimers. So super important now to explain that in your terms and conditions to ensure that if client's in action, it's not on you, it's on them. They're big boys and girls. Pull up your big boy pants and do what you're supposed to do as a business owner. So you know that you're supposed to lodge, you know that you're supposed to engage firms, accountants and BAS agents to enable this. And I think the key change, funny one, is the monthly BAS changes. So anyone that's late will now get monthly BASs. So someone, instead of getting $4,000 worth of fines, they'll get $12,000. That's a really interesting one that's going to happen. Pricing, terms and conditions, put them in there. Put your terms in there. How you want to get charged to the client. Talk about your limitations of your liability, especially if you're in one of the IPA, CA, and those sorts of places. Mention the safe harbor protections. So obviously, one of the key things we recommend within Seamlss is to go and start your engagement letter template process with your member organization. I'll get Daniel to put in the chat a link to one of our blog posts, but you should be able to Google your own CA, CPA, IPA place, download the engagement letter and start with that. Include all of the parts that are in theirs, because they've obviously got lawyers and things like that to make sure it's a good starting point. A lot of people ask me, oh, why don't you include engagement letters in Seamlss? Because you should already, have one, and everybody's is different. So we've all got different data. Where is it stored? What things are you doing around your data? Where is it housed? What apps are you using? What systems? How is it being kept as far as your records here, as an example? But I think it's key is making sure that engagement letter is suited to your firm, because we all work in different locations, we all work in different ways, and we all do it a different way. And now is a great time to start reviewing your engagement letter. In the blog articles that I released this week, one last week was disengaging clients. So having a look at disengaging clients if they're not your ideal client, especially with all the changes that are coming up. And two, the other one was around looking at the engagement letter of what you can include to make that better relationship. So I'm really stressing that today around the relationship aspect, because that's what we're building. We're building relationships with our clients. And this isn't a get out of jail free card as far as I'm concerned. It's an opportunity to build that relationship and start off on the right foot, and or reset the relationship going forward on an annual basis, so that you're upfront and clear all the time with your expectations, their expectations, and how that's going to roll. So inside Seamlss, we've got different engagement templates. So you can have one for STP finalization. Send it through, get it signed off by the client. Talk about your terms, talk about what's included. You can delete, add things like that on the fly as you like. You could just have an overall engagement letter like I showed before. You could have a bookkeeping engagement letter. Depending on the item that you're doing might dictate the thing that you're sending out. So I know that with Seamlss, we have client links. So in the client link, if they're doing tax planning collection, you might have the tax planning engagement letter. So yes, they've signed your other engagement letter, but now they're also signing this one in addition to that. So the whole point of this is to ensure that you've got an up-to-date engagement letter for that task, job that you're implementing within the firm. So if I add a client, I'll go back to the ad screen. Oh, obviously with the engagement letter tool here, you obviously got a lot of editing. You can put in links, you can put in tables, you can put in a bit more HTML code if you're that nerdy kind of person, but obviously you can edit it up. I've just been copying and pasting from Word and things like that. Sometimes it'll go a bit skewy because that's just the way the internet works. But generally it'll copy and paste everything, including emojis and things like that. Not that I think you should have an emoji in a letterhead either. If we onboarded a client, so in this example, I'm adding client Mike Smith, and I'm going to put in his phone number. Now we can add entities, and the entities will get listed in the engagement letter as a part of that process. Obviously, the ID checks. One of the notable things to make sure that you're ideally using the Stripe DVS option and the source identity. I touched on it yesterday. Learn more here. If you want to know more about ID checks, I can come back to that at the end. Now, with Seamlss, you can obviously add forms and get additional data when onboarding clients. We've talked about that, and I can talk about that later again. I'm going to focus on the engagement letter. So here's my engagement letter. So today, I'm going to send off the engagement letter for, let's do for just a general engagement letter, and I'm going to customize it. So as you can see, here's my engagement letter, here's my scope. I'm going to say, oh, for this client, I'm actually going to price the job at, $3,500. Tax returns, $2,000. Maybe I'm not happy with that. You obviously set your own prices with this stuff, but you can edit it on the fly. I'll put it in here just so you can see it. This engagement is custom. So you can obviously edit all these terms and conditions and mark it as done. Now you can save it as a new template. So you could create a template for every client if you wanted, and that means you could reuse it every year. Or if you've got similar clients and similar niche, I would recommend just having a template for that. Mark that as done, and I'm going to add the client. Now that's going to send off an email to the client. And one thing that Daniel's just implemented today that's been requested is this copy link feature. So you can actually, some firms were saying that the client wasn't getting the emails that are sent out from Seamlss. So you can copy the request token that goes out in the email and post it through your email. Super handy if the clients aren't getting your emails or you want to send it out via your own system. Can't come back over to my emails here. So now I'm in as a client. Client just received my engagement request, so I'm going to onboard. I'm Mike. Here we go. Let's start. Just get my phone, get the code. So no passwords. It's all multi-factor authentication with Seamlss. And here's the code. Remember me for 30 days. So there's no passwords. Oh, that was an old code. Lucky I can use an Android. Oh, there we go. 7. So remember this code. Done. Here's my information requested. Put in the basic information. Go through this as fast as I can. We do validate a lot of information within Seamlss, especially tax file numbers. We want to make sure that they are correct, because when you're onboarding and IDing them, you want to put that in and progress forward. Phone number's been used. Winning. So I've added the company. Oops. Business Edge. So it will look up. Oh, that's the wrong bit. Business Edge Advisors. Business Edge. It'll look it up on ABR lookup. If you know the ABN, which most clients do, it will look it up, pull it in for them. Just want to quickly get through this as much as I can. So we can get to the engagement letter. Let's go. So obviously we can upload some bank statements, or if you're onboarding a new client, it might be, did I do an ID check? I did. Should have skipped that. Quickly do an ID check. Come on, Clayton. I don't think I can skip this, Daniel. Nope. To start again. Apologize. Let's go back. Add client. I'll just do a re-engagement because that'll be just the same outcome. Apologies. Shouldn't have ticked Stripe. So with the re-engagement, it's the same principle. You can confirm the client's information, but you can also collect data. So you can request end of financial year information. It could be rental documents, bank statements, anything. And again, you can customize the engagement letter. Same as I did before. And I'm going to mark that off as done. You can see that the edits didn't save on the last one. The idea is that you're using templates and you're going to reutilize the same information, because usually your prices should be fairly set, or you have a set starting price. So if you're not pricing the job, you could just be pricing from a set rate. This is a from level. Like that is done. Send for re-engagement. So that sends off Clayton an email for SMS. He logs in. Off we go. I'm going to switch across. Here's my re-engagement here. So I'm now in the client screen. Clients are re-engaging. So the whole point of this process is that imagine every year you should be re-engaging your clients. So the opportunity here is we can collect the data, confirm their details. We're confirming the details so we've got the right information on the front cover of the tax return and the front cover of the financials. So have these details changed? No. We just went through this before. As I said, the clients will put in their ABN and look it up on ABR lookup. These details haven't changed. Now they can upload one or many bank statements, information, whatever it is that you've got. Hopefully you can still see my screen. I've lost everyone else.
We can still see it.
Oh, I just can't see you. But anyway, so they can put in information and they can drag and drop different files and get started. So this is the key points list around, I think, that's improved our processing times. Is that fair to say, do you think?
Yes, absolutely. Collecting the information, if it's just a you're just re-engaging every year. It's about communicating to the client that, hey, we're doing things a little bit differently. We're collecting the data or the documents we need via this platform. And then, holding those people, holding their hand through that process and utilizing it. It actually saves us so much time in the administrative space once that data all comes in and the job's ready to go. So the turnaround time's a lot quicker for the client, which I think is the result that they're looking for.
And we've just updated the drag and drop function and stuff for file uploads. Here is the confirmation page. So then we continue and sign. And you can see here that I've customized the engagement letter, as I said. So whatever changes you make will be reflected on the client side. The client will sign it. They can obviously read it. I recommend that you have the pricing at the top, just from a ease of use point of view for the client, so that they can progress through. Now, if you're not aware, with Seamlss, one of the other key functions that everybody loves is the client agent linking. So client agent linking is super important, but it doesn't fulfill ID checks, and Seamlss does guide you through that process. A lot of clients are processing that themselves, but if they're not, we do have client agent linking here. They click on the link and then they get started and they go through the client agent linking process. I do have a million other demos on YouTube. You can go and check them out. Go back to the firm view. So that is engaging. So you can engage and change the engagement letter on the fly. When you're adding a client, you can edit, have set templates, and you can send it through Seamlss when re-engaging. Whoops, probably should have touched on the other bit too, Celeste. So you can go in here and download the documents. Now, obviously, you can generate your engagement letter files with the information that they've uploaded. Obviously, I've done a lot of demos. I need to clean this one up. So you can collect information and download it. You can download all the files at once. It's like a zip file. We have Dropbox, Google Drive, and OneDrive. Daniel, not far away, hopefully. FYI Docs is in construction at the moment. I don't think it's going to be here before ABE, but it should be not long after. So everyone's looking forward to an FYI integration. That is very, very close. But as you can see, the idea is to take that document and that information and save it to your document management solutions for later. So here's the custom engagement letter. It's all there. All the information is in, and the client signed it. And the key with that is that you've got a copy digitally available for use. The client can also download their own engagement letters if they want. That's all I'm going to touch on there. So obviously, the whole point of Seamlss is to ensure that you've got clear terms and conditions, well documented. That's how you're going to tick off your TASA compliance. Hopefully, if you haven't reviewed your engagement letter, now is a great time. Go back, review it from your membership organization. Make sure you're engaging it. Make sure you're creating a process with the admin team so that they're aware how you're going to continue to do that. Track them with Seamlss. You're obviously going to be able to view all the audit history and things like that. And streamlining it with an automated process within Seamlss really helps. So I know, like Celeste said, our lodgement rate is, what are we at? We're at 95%, but we're probably 66% lodged already for the year. And yeah, we may even run out of work by the end of the year, which would be an amazing task for Business Edge. But obviously we want to streamline that as much as possible. So TASA requires to make sure it's clear and trackable client arrangements. Engagement letters should be dynamic, not static. So yes, you can use a static one if you're like, I'm going to try and capture all. The benefit of that with Seamlss is that you know all entities have signed that engagement letter. We're trying to make it as easy and effortless as possible and a part of your process within your firm. So Celeste, as the practice manager, we have a process, and Seamlss makes that process seamless, easy. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and because you can have all users in it, you know, for the firm's subscription as well. Like, you've got different tasks that maybe your different admin team play in the role of accessing Seamlss and what they do in it. And because it's so user-friendly, that it's really easy for those that don't use it all the time to be able to jump in and maybe, you know, onboard a new client because that, you know, they just need to do that for the day.
And so what tasks are the admin team doing with Seamlss to collect data and re-engage annually? Like where does that fit in with the processes?
I think, so what you might be looking for there is with our admin team is when a client jumps on and makes a booking, then that we're all automated. So it's set up that a notification goes through to the admin team, and depending on the type of booking, then triggers what they actually do in Seamlss. Is it a new client? Are they existing? Is it re-engagement? Is it an advice meeting? Like that trigger will determine what it is exactly the admin team will be doing.
Excellent. So the whole idea is that process. So the process that we're doing, other firms can do. So whether it's a re-engagement, so we're going to call the jobs in, we send out a Seamlss request, we collect the data, we sign an engagement letter. If it's just a basic tax return, we do the same thing. We send it out, they confirm their bank details, they confirm their addresses, they give us some documents to create the tax return, rental schedules, things like that. And then we have a signed engagement letter. So it's really important to be able to go back on that, especially with the tax returns. If they're lower end clients, you really want to tick that box. So you go, well, this is what you agreed to. Like, we did the work, you pay the bills. What else have we got here? I think the other key is, TASA doesn't require you to have pricing, but I think to avoid any disputes, it's definitely a key item to think about. Obviously, best practice is doing the engagement letters annually. I really want people to go back on and review that process within their firm and their quality assurance requirements with the new TASA requirements of ensuring that's done. Obviously, we made it so that you can edit the engagement letter on the fly all the time. I think I stopped there. Questions?
Yeah, there's quite a few in there.
Yeah.
Are you reading them out, Daniel, going through those?
Yeah, there's a couple from, we've had one from Sadia, who was asking about the TASA engagement guideline. If there's a template already in Seamlss.
Is there a template?
Yeah.
Not yet, but as I said, there's a whole bunch of things you need to tick off in your TASA requirements. Like, don't get too hung up on the TASA requirements. You should already be a member of one of the organizations, whether it's IPA, CANSA, ICB, someone. There is a tax practitioners board, engagement letter list as well that you can review if you're not sure. I have discussed adding engagement letter templates to Seamlss, but I've resisted the urge because I think that you need to start with your membership organization. You have you're a member of them, so you need to make sure you're also satisfying the requirements to be a member of that organization. Does that answer the question? Let us know. Next, Daniel.
Suzanne wanted to have a look at that request link again. So if you add a client quickly, you'll be able to see that. Yeah, as I mentioned in chat, that will be rolled out in all areas for the moment. We've just got it in the add client and the request client. Yeah, you need a new.
It's not going to add
address. No, add a new one.
Add another one. Copy. This link here. So the idea was that we had a fair bit of feedback where, clients weren't getting the link. So therefore, we wanted to roll it out in the way that you could copy that and send it through your own email system. So that has only literally just come out today, but it'll go out in more areas soon. We're just trying to test it there. So yeah.
Yeah, mainly as a fallback if your client isn't receiving your email for some reason.
Yeah. Especially, I noticed, I think our team was saying defense personnel weren't receiving it. Some clients are saying it's going to junk and things like that. So the ability to follow it up is super important.
I can touch on the point that Wayne and Alan contributed to in the chat as well. And so that's on about engaging the client before you even meet with them so that you can do some checks so that you can then, get engagement, so you can review their Xero file, review the ATO file. So when you meet with them, you know where their lodgement status is. You haven't actually said you're doing any services. It's just so that you can view it all and access it all. And you can prepare a quote for them before they even come in to do whatever work it is that you may have discussed over the phone or by other means. That's been super powerful for us at Business Edge.
Yeah, I think, so it's super important. You need a signed engagement letter in order to add them to the portal, in order to do that deep dive, so that you can do a scoping session to get the right outcome for that client. You also need to have permission to add them to the portal to do the ID check, to do the verification process.
No more that I can see.
Thanks for my okay, so that's kind of answered all the questions. The other thing I wanted to touch on today was around the client ID checks. So with an ID check, you can some firms were using the agent linking as an option for doing an ID check. Now, doing an ID check on its own with client agent linking wasn't enough. They're two separate tasks, two separate requirements under the new TASA changes, and wanted to make sure people were clearly aware of that. So you just seen me before with the ID check here, using the Stripe ID and source identity. Now, the bit that I wanted to touch on and make it super clear is this part here. So a visual method. So if you're meeting the client in person and you're going to be like the bouncer at the front of the nightclub, show us your ID to get in, that is a sufficient ID check. Now, that is quite confronting for your admin team to do that, hence why seamless tools like Seamlss exist to ID check on the go. Now, here are the requirements of your ID check. This is on the ATO website. It's not, let's just do a DVS. You need to verify a minimum of 2 information points against the ATO source documents. Now, when you're collecting data from Seamlss, we're doing that for you. So when the client uploads data through an ID check, you can use that to check against the ATO. So one, the Stripe DVS will do a biometric check of their face against the license and things like that, but also the source ID check. So bank details, that's why we recommend to have bank details on in your settings. So in settings, go to general, mark them on as by default. That means you can check the bank details against what's in the ATO to make sure that you're verifying the client. Now, one of the other things with Seamlss that is unique is that you can request more items. So if you're dealing with someone online, you're like, something's not quite adding up with this person, you can request more ID check information. So in this case, it might be, say, I'm going to do a visual request. I'm going to say, send me a notice assessment. And you can put that in the email, so asking the client for the notice assessment. So I'm going to send that. That goes off, and you're requesting additional. So you can do the multi-point check of ID verification while onboarding them, but after the fact, you can keep sending them more. Now, I'll just switch to the client view. So here is my ID request. So the client would have got an email. They click on the email. They click through, and they land on this page. It lists the items that they can use as secondary additional ID identification. It's in the app. It's built in. This is all mobile friendly. It makes it really easy for the client. Upload any of these documents that you can utilize to verify their information. Now, in this case, I'm going to use, let's just say this was a notice assessment, and you'll upload that, and that's done. The benefit of that is it's now finished. I've done my ID check. I'm happy with that. I'm going to go back to the firm view, and obviously the admin team will be able to do this until they are happy. There's nothing that says if you do 1, 2, 3 things, you are done with an ID. That is not what the ATO, the Tax Practitioner Board information says. Nowhere does it say, do this, tick box, done, move on. It says you need to be reasonably sure they are who they say they are. So at a certain point, you're like, I'm not sure this person's right, you need to do more checks. It doesn't say, if Seamlss gives me a green check, I'm done. It is not what the ATO or Tax Practitioner Board says. The whole point is that you're supposed to be checking till you're reasonably sure that person you're dealing with is who they say they are. Because let's face it, there's a lot of fraud out there. There's a lot of good fake IDs and documents, and it's, you know, there's a lot of tech and AI tools that can do that for you. You've all seen it. This is just an example. Imagine it was a notice assessment or something like that. You can verify that with Seamlss. Tick what your item that you're verifying and confirm it. Now, the other key thing with Seamlss is we delete the documents. One of the things that if you review all of the paraphernalia from the ATO is that it says it's not recommended you keep the ID documents. They don't recommend it, and neither does Seamlss, because it's just creating you as a honeypot full of ID documents. Now, some tools out there will actually add the ID document to the PDF generated and attach it to the client and things like that. I don't recommend that at all. That means you're keeping ID documents for clients for a very long time. And if you get hacked, I think the breaches are now over $3 million for small businesses and stuff, like the fines. So do your best to not keep any identifying documents and keep it all secure. The whole point of Seamlss was built around security, keeping the documents off email. So once you've verified them, Seamlss will log that. Who, what, where, when. That's what you need. You can export all these through the data center. So you can export one client or all your data verifications. Is there any other questions? Any other things people want me to go through in today's demo, or TASA questions, or anything that I haven't answered? I see Wayne listening intently there. Moving screen sharing today, Wayne. I think we'll wrap it up there. If there's not any other questions, Daniel or Celeste, we're all good. Hopefully today was fairly informative. I think I just reiterate the last few points. It's about building a relationship with that client. Yes, you want to tick your boxes and you want to have quality control and you want to comply with the ATO tax practitioner guidelines, but we're in the relationship business. We're building a business of trust, and I think that is the key part. Yes, the engagement letter is one piece of the puzzle that can complete that, but yeah, it's all built on trust. Thanks, everyone. We'll send out the recording. Upload engine update has been released. Yes. So that was what I was doing before, Wayne. So if I go back here, I'll send myself a request. So if I go to new quick fetch, so if I just say, oh, Clayton, you had a capital gain, I'm going to send a quick fetch and say, give me these capital gain documents. Now you can obviously edit these, remove the items if you didn't want to ask that question, and you can also add additional questions. One other feature that was released this week, which I haven't promoted, Wayne, is the ability to upload files. So you can actually upload a file like an Excel document or PDF or something to the client. So it'd be like, I'm not sure what sort of Excel document, but you can say, here's a document to download. Give me 1 second, I will create an Excel document. Here is my Excel document. I'm going to drop it in there. Please fill this in. So I'm going to add that, and then I'm going to send it. So now, just going to bring it back up so I can see you all. So there I've sent that request. That's just sent off one request for one bit of information to a client. So old mate had his CGT that we discovered through the process, and now they can upload various documents. Just give me 1 second. So they can drop all kinds of things. So let's just drop some different documents here. Here's some images. Better not drop client stuff. Let's copy some few things there. So you're answering the different questions. Where's the Excel? Where's the Excel one? Daniel? Oh, there it is. There's the file that I just uploaded, the Excel file. So the client can start doing whatever it is that file, PDF, Excel, whatever it is that you sent the client that you wanted them to action. And then I'm going to save it. Is that what you're kind of wondering, Wayne? So now they can drag and drop. I also had the photo the other day that I put up online. See if I can bring it up. So there's also some updates for when you're on the mobile phone. So they can attach from different libraries and photos and multiples and things like that. So what was the other questions? Admin staff in Cinema requesting docs later after a possible contact detail in an email address has been updated in XPM, but not in Seamlss. Is there a sync process? The opposite way. 100% there's a sync process. When seeing client getting the ability to push or pull up. Daniel, I'll just show you how that looks. Paul? So yes, it's manual. It's manual for a reason. If you've ever used any apps connected to XPM, they create duplicates and it drives me bonkers. The key with Seamlss is you've got to remember you're getting data from the client. So if we were just automatically, that's a bit weird, automatically pushing updates straight into Seamlss, is that the right word I'm looking for? It would screw it up. Just 1 second. 1 second. It would screw it up. How can I explain this? Imagine the client updated their stuff, but it was not quite what you wanted, or was in the wrong area?
I can speak into this quite clearly, because obviously working like with the admin team is a client might update their phone number or miss something in their email address. If you just automatically are getting that fed into XPM, that your data's going to be corrupted because it's not correct. So by an admin team, whether way they're pushing or pulling it from XPM into Seamlss or Seamlss into XPM, they're to go through that information. And if there is something that's changed that you haven't been aware of, so maybe they moved from 56 to 57, you might go, actually, I probably think that's a typo. I might contact the client and double check that. Or you might just ask them for a bit of an update. Have you changed your email address? Or they might have changed jobs. So it just makes the admin team be really alert to it so that they can then push that information in.
And you want, Paul, XPM to be single source of truth. I'm not sure what's going on here. I'm disconnected and reconnected. I'll have to check that later. But normally it would display both sides. If you've used Seamlss, you know what I'm talking about. But basically on the left-hand side, it shows what's in Seamlss. On the right-hand side, it shows what's in XPM, and you can push or pull the information. Of course, we're in a live demo and it breaks. But yeah, so the idea is, as I said, you want XPM as your single source of truth, and we want to maintain that. So yeah, if you just automatically sync, you could end up with junk data in XPM, and nobody wants that. It's connecting XPM. Where's my XPM? Is there any other questions? No, we're all good. Don't be shy. There's the example. That's what it should look like if my connection was working. But yeah, so you want to push or pull the data and maintain XPM as your single source of truth. We will actually look it up and see if there's any matches as well. So if it's a new client and there's something in XPM, it'll actually look and sync, and you can match it up. The admin team can maintain that integrity. Just let Celeste. Yeah, no problem, Wayne. But the people that use it all the time, no problem. Yeah, and obviously as a firm owner, yes, I use Seamlss from time to time, but my admin team are the ones that drive it and make it all happen. Any other questions? I think we'll wrap it up there. That's 50 minutes worth. So really appreciate it. Thanks, Celeste. Thanks for Daniel for jumping on today's session. Thanks everyone for joining. I will stop the recording and we're done.